With that being said, good evening, everybody. It is the exploration of her. I'm author Michelle Warren, and tonight's discussion is going to be the exploration of marriage. So it's going to be a very unique show. So we have our lovely married couple, the Chambers clan, who have fun in their own right. We have Miss Angel and Mr. Wendell, who are both single and bring unique perspectives. And then there's little old me. So I want you guys to make sure you come in, like, share, and let's engage and have a great, wonderful conversation.
Yes. Let's get the likes up.
Let's get the likes up. So, welcome, everybody. First thing I'm going to say, or first question, the first question, marriage to you, what does it mean? Let's start with the Chambers crew.
What
was the question?
Wow.
There was a bunch of feedback. So,
what does marriage mean to you?
It means death.
Oh, Jesus.
Real? And I told you to behave on this.
I don't know why you would expect that. I am who I am. I'm going to be who I be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Would you like to give a decent answer?
No. You ladies first.
Ladies first?
Yeah, you go first.
Wow. To me, marriage is sharing your life with someone, all aspects of your life, and growing with them. Ideally, if you stay married for long enough, you evolve as a person and you grow with that person.
It's a good answer.
It's a good answer?
Yeah, it's a good answer. I'll do. I accept.
Oh, you accept?
I accept. Let's see. Marriage. Let's see.
You just gonna keep saying
I'm gonna just keep saying the word.
Okay. No
So marriage is, I would say, compromise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in a relationship, you have to think of more than yourself. And there are situations where you're not going to get everything you want. And so you have to, I think what marriage does is it helps you think of the bigger picture, whatever that bigger picture is to you. I think marriage helps to provide that context, especially if you have kids. And so when regarding the bigger picture, just regarding your actions and the decisions you make, it doesn't just impact you, it impacts a mini ecosystem, if you will. And so that's where the compromise part comes in, to where there are a lot of situations where I don't feel like doing things. For example, yesterday, did I want to spend half the afternoon cleaning up the mess of a 7-year-old? No, because I have bigger, more worldly things to accomplish. But again, thinking of compromising and how your decisions impact the bigger ecosystem, because having our 7-year-old's playroom being clean helps to contribute to the overall house being clean. So there we go.
Yeah, and he did not want to clean that room. He actually looked at me and said, "Why would I want to clean somebody else's mess?"
Right.
And I was like, "You're not really aware of how this parent thing works, are you? 7 years in, you don't quite understand how it works still, huh?"
I didn't sign the contract. Sorry.
You did sign the contract.
I did not sign the contract.
Absolutely signed the contract and the birth certificate.
Nope.
Yes, you did.
I have a representative.
Your representative?
Yeah, wasn't me.
Looks just like you.
Yeah, well, happens. That's the idea.
No problem. Michelle, please continue because he'll keep running amok.
Okay, Angel, you're next. What is it to you?
Okay, so marriage to me All while I do agree with marriage being a compromise. But I learned recently, I think I'm saying this right. You should never have to compromise. Life is not about compromising, it's about give and take. So when it comes to being married, I shouldn't have to compromise my beliefs and you shouldn't have to compromise your beliefs. But what we do is, you know, I give you a little and you give a little. I take a little, you take a little. Being married in my mind, that's a big step. That's like I said, I've never been married. I'm only 24 years old.
Whatever.
And I do want to be married one day, but to me, I know that's a big step. So to me, it really means taking that step to continue on growing and learning your partner, your significant other. It means to be more selfless and selfish. It means to be considerate of their feelings, considerate of their feelings, as well as still standing firm on what you believe. Well, yeah, that's it.
Okay, Wendell, what is marriage to you?
Okay, so in the traditional context, marriage is a business arrangement. In the emotional sphere, it's supposed to be a place where two people come together to share life experiences with the end goal of traveling through life as partners. I am of the persuasion, having been married and no longer being married, that marriage is a tool to facilitate the growth of the individuals that are partaking in it. And because of that, because it's a tool, being married is not the end all to be all. It is a part of a life process. So I can say a whole lot about it, but assuming that the people involved in the marriage are indeed doing their work to personally grow, then that marriage can be strong and be successful. I look at it like a Venn diagram. There's the one spouse is a circle, then there's the other spouse's circle, and then the marriage is the overlap. Depending on the amount of work that they are doing on themselves individually, the area of interlap can be sizable or it could be minuscule. And the communication going on between them, or lack thereof, is going to dictate and determine if the marriage overlap becomes bigger and stronger, or if it ultimately pulls apart. So that'd be my, in a nutshell, answer about what does marriage mean to me.
Okay. And Jamila, you just joined us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the first question is, what is marriage to you?
Marriage to me is an amusement park. I was married for 10 years, and it was the roller coaster of ups and downs. There was work that had to be done. As Wendell said, there is the partnership dynamic that is involved. There's the business dynamic that's involved. There is that love dynamic that's involved. So marriage is marriage is a collage of many different things. It's a collage of many different dynamics. Um, I discovered and have discovered over the years from um, being in from the beginning of the marriage all the way till now, um, that that roller coaster ride is real. It's real, and you know that that the pull of the incline of going through the ups and the adrenaline of going through the ups is a beautiful thing. And then when it hits that down, okay, now we have to make some decisions in our life, and there's the screaming and the oohs and ahs and a lot of all of that. So um, yeah, it's one of those things where, okay, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna have fun? Do we not like this ride anymore? It, it's an amusement park. There are a number of different options and opportunities in what marriage can look like for a couple and what it doesn't look like, or what it looks like to one partner may not look the same to the other partner. Um, so you have to make a decision in terms of, hey, what are we riding today? Are we riding a roller coaster? Are we riding the Ferris wheel? Are we just gonna, we just gonna sit back and watch everybody else ride? So yeah, marriage to me is a number of different things. It's a number of different things, but ultimately, I think it's at the end of it all, it is a partnership, and everybody at the table has to come to some sort of an agreement.
Okay. Okay. And for my own self, I think my answer is a combination of everything, especially in coming to terms with this live. Marriage is, like Wendell says, it's partially a business contract. It's saying that we've made a promise to enter into this thing and combine our hearts, our finances, our lives. So both business wise, both emotionally, physically, all that we're making a choice. Um, with that being said, what is when you made the decision, or when you imagine making the decision to get married, what are the factors that make you decide to take that step? And I'm not talking about, oh, I love them, beyond the love, because it has to be more than just love to make the marriage work realistically. So, in speaking realistically, what made you decide to get and stay married? Well, not stay married, but get married, or make you have that point where you want to even try. So we're gonna start off with Mr. Wendell.
So, first of all, let me say that I believe that people make the decisions in their life. They make the best decisions that they can based on the information that they have available at the time. So depending on where in your life's timeline you get married, it is going to be influenced and informed by those variables. Um, I can tell you what I did, and then I can tell you what I would recommend now. What I did was I got married primarily because, one, my religious slash spiritual belief system that I was ascribing to at the time was very, very pro marriage. It was very, very anti fornication. Um, so from a physical and sexual perspective, it was better to marry than to burn. Um, but then, as far as my own personal growth and development at the time, I believed that I would be the type of man to add value to the life of a woman, and honoring her as, quote unquote, the lesser vessel honoring and esteeming her, um, providing the emotional support that she would need, being a good father. So the decision to get married was really surrounded by a bunch of quote unquote doing words as opposed to being words, right? Being ready, being in a place emotionally, financially, spiritually, intellectually, ready to take on the responsibility of not only growing myself and evolving, but facilitating the growth in another person and accepting whether or not they were willing and or able to do said work and live with the consequences and repercussions of that decision on a day-to-day basis. Being able to make the choice to stay in a mind frame and a posture towards another person for what we stated at the beginning to be a lifetime. Looking back over it, I was a little bit, I overestimated my capacity. My intention was wonderful. My capacity was still yet unbeknownst to me. So I would say that, so nowadays, I would say to someone to understand that your decision to marry should not, and is not solely driven by emotion, but it is indeed a process that you are going to have to choose every single day to be the best you and show up in the best possible way for for a person, and for yourself primarily, and let your spouse reap the benefit of the work that you're doing on yourself. Otherwise, you're you may be setting yourself up for a different reality when the varying intricacies of life begin to show up, and then you really get tested in the fire. So,
Okay. And Amanda?
Gotta get off mute. She was harassing me this whole time.
It's not true at all.
Actually, it is.
It's not true at all. He's put his arm behind me and then started making noises. And I'm like, I know y'all saw me like, what is that? What is that? Until I realized it was his hand behind me making a noise.
Nah, all eyes, all eyes. So I think I'll be off by saying, I think Wendell said best earlier when he said that marriage was a business contract. And you are essentially making a deal based off of the terms that are presented to you at the time. And so, when deciding to get married, you're not just looking at the near future, but the long-term future as well. And you have to determine whether the person that you're considering marrying, yeah, I said that. Marrying, yeah. Marrying, yeah. Mm-hmm. Fits into your long-term goals, because while marriage is a partnership, I think at the same time you have to think of yourself, and you have to think of who you are as a person, where you want to go, and whether the person you're considering marrying fits into your overall life picture. And so if that person doesn't fit into it, then you might want to consider otherwise. And there are other implications, as Wendell said earlier. Religion is a big deal. Family dynamic is a big deal as well. So it's not just you, if you will, but I think when deciding to marry someone or not, I think it has to start with where you are and where you want to go.
And so for me, it was way more simpler than that. It was simply, I did not plan to get married at all. And so then when I started dating him and I could see myself as his wife, I was like, oh, okay. So maybe I should do this then, because I had my whole mind somewhere else. I was about to go teach overseas and all of that. And then I started dating him. and I couldn't think of anything except being his wife.
Oh,
So, wow,
tear.
tear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here.
My young dumb days. But so
They're still here.
they're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my young days are still here.
No, the dumb
You heard
part.
him say it.
The dumb part.
You heard him say it.
The dumb part.
You heard him say it.
Actually,
You
what
heard
I
him
meant.
say it.
That's what I meant.
Anyway, but that was pretty much it for me. I'm pretty much a go with my gut type of person. I'm one of those people that when I meet you, either I like you or I do not like you, and that typically does not change. And the few times that I have changed my mind about somebody I don't like, I ended up hating them. So I go with my gut. And so when all I could think about was being not his girlfriend, not his live-in friend or whatever, but his wife, that was it for me. So, and I was just like, all right, so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to teach overseas. We're going to get married. All right, let's do it.
Okay. Angel?
I was hoping you would put me last. Ooh. Like I said earlier, I want to be married. I can see myself being someone's wife. There was a point in time where I had fully imagined my married life to someone. But I decided to join the Army instead. So I'm listening to everyone or the past 3 people that have spoken about marriage. And in my mind, I understand or somewhat understand the duty behind it, the commitment behind it, the part of the business transaction behind it. But when I think about me getting married, I'm a very emotional person. So I think more of not can I be with this person, but more so I can't see myself being without this person. And that's literally that's part of my motivation behind wanting to get married. I want to be in love. I want to be someone's wife. I want to eventually, after us getting married, eventually be the mother of their children. Like I want all of that. But yeah, I'm just gonna patiently wait on that. I'm not rushing anything anymore. Just gonna wait.
Jamila?
Oh, well, I'm trying to share here, trying to get our likes up. Anyway, what was the question again?
Outside of
Don't
love,
judge me.
outside of love, what would be your what are the reasons that you will want to be married outside of just the I love you? What other factors play in getting married?
Okay, so for me, it was a number of things, which has ultimately brought me and my ex-husband to a friendship. Do our missions and our visions align with one another? That was huge for me. I was really bad at, because I'm a part of the LGBTQ community, I was really bad at, hi, I'm Jay, I'm bisexual. And a lot of times I would meet people and they'd be like, okay, well, let's do this threesome thing, let's go. Nope, you're not the person. When I met him, when we actually went to dinner, and that's how I introduced myself, his response to me was, okay, what does that mean for me? And I was at a loss for words. I genuinely couldn't answer it. And then the more we talked, the more we spoke, I discovered that our mission in life and our vision in life aligned with each other when we began to speak about not just having children, but how we want our children to be raised. It's one thing to have babies, but how are you going to raise them together? It was an alignment. Even after we got divorced, My youngest daughter lives with him. It was something that was needed because where he currently lives and where I currently live, there was an opportunity there for her that we both agreed, okay, let's take that, let's do this dynamic a little differently. So outside of, oh my God, I love him, I can't see myself without him, I still love him. That's I believe that when you start taking the first steps, and definitely most when you take the steps to be intimate with someone, there is always going to be love there after that. And we're in the 21st century. 9 times out of 10, Wendell, I'm a preacher's kid, but I did. But I when you take those steps, you automatically love them enough to make children with them. So for me, the love never died. What happened was we grew in our growing and
Jamila, I don't think Jamila, your sound went out, darling. We see your lips moving, but we don't see anything. Okay. While she gets that together, we'll go on. My next question, because it is a very real one, especially when it comes to marriage. How was marriage shown to you? What were the principles of marriage? How did you learn them? How do you, in Angel's case, how do you see them in your life? Growing up, what did marriage look like for you? What did you see and say, hey, I can take this, but y'all got life messed up if you think I'm gonna be bothered with that. So that's my question. What were the things that you shown with your parents, with your grandparents, aunts, uncles? What did you see growing up with marriage? Look at these two lovebirds. So I'm starting with them first anyway. Amanda and Stan.
So at first I was like, I don't know. But then Amanda was like, your parents.
His parents have been married for like 45 years. What do you mean? Where did I get my view? Where did I see marriage? In your house, bro. What do you mean?
I mean, I guess. So I guess for me, looking at my parents, since you want to go there, I would say there were set duties, if you will, or set lanes, if you will, that I noticed with my parents. And so my mother did certain things, my father did certain things. And I'm not saying that those lines didn't cross, but I think in our household, the duties and responsibilities were pretty set. And so ironically, that's kind of how our whole household is,
Yeah, but let me just tell you.
Oh boy.
When we first started, okay, so first of all, let me backtrack just a little bit. Because we broke every single rule to dating that you're not supposed to break. Okay. First of all, this dude was supposed to be a one-night stand. Apparently, I don't know how to do those.
I'm magic. We'll just look at that. I'm magic.
Would you please? So we broke that rule because, I was like, okay, whatever the 2005 equivalent of Hot Girl Summer is, that's what I was doing, right? Only it was wintertime. And I was like, I'm gonna try this one-night stand thing. I had just gotten out of a long relationship and I was like, that's it. I'm gonna do this. But because I'm a punk ass, I didn't want to just pick up a stranger. So I was like, let me have one night stand with this somebody I know. And I was like, well, I always thought Stan was cute because he kind of looked like Play from Kid and Play, right? And so I was like, okay, Stan is cute. I'm a holler at Stan, right? So apparently I don't know how to one night stand well because I kept him.
No,
right?
I'm just magic.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
If that's what you need. Anyway.
It's what you need.
So when we first started dating, we basically just moved in together, right? Another thing you're not supposed to do. Then we bought a car together without, right, bank accounts together. Like it was, yes, I see you looking at me. I see you looking at me, Angel. I see you. So we just broke all the rules. Thank God it worked out because it could have got messy, right? But when we moved in together, I was like, what roles, do you want traditional or do you, are you like a new age man? And he was like, oh no, I'm a new age man. I don't want traditional. Everything is 50-50 and all of that, right? So we try to do 50-50. This dude talking about why you didn't do the laundry. That's
75% of the laundry was her clothes. Just saying.
First of all,
just saying.
That is not true. We wear the same amount of outfits in a day at that point.
Nah.
Yes. Nah. Anyway, so I was like, what do you mean? He was like, isn't that kind of your thing to do, on the woman's side, laundry? And I was like, oh, word. So it's 1953. Got it.
Now, the way she makes it come across is I'm just some sexist asshole. But no, you just like you're the one who did the laundry.
How was I the one that did the laundry when we just moved in together? Of course, I did it at my house. I was the only one there.
I mean, you just started doing the laundry. So there we go.
What are you? Okay, anyway. Were you done with your answer?
For now.
Okay. On my end, I did not have great examples of marriage. My mother has been married 3 times and divorced 3 times. When I was born, my grandparents on my mother's side, my grandmother on my father's side was divorced. My grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side were separated, not divorced, separated. And then he died when I was 3 while they were still separated. And then on the great grandparents' side, my great grandmothers were still alive, but their husbands had died before I was born. So I literally had no examples of marriage. Cousins were divorced, separated. So I had really no good examples except for TV. The Cosbys. I watched the the old shows, the Jeffersons, what else? Well, Good Times, all of them.
Sure.
So those were my examples of marriage, especially Black marriage. It was TV for the longest time. Then my aunt got married and she married a military man, and my uncle is married, and he's been married the longest out of the whole family. My aunt, my mom's younger sister, she eventually did get divorced, but my mother's older brother has been married since the month before I was born. So they're coming up on 40 years.
40.
Please don't get on my nerves. So that's the only example that I've even remotely had, and they were not an everyday or even every month example that I got to see. So I kind of knew what I didn't want in a marriage from what I had been exposed to, but I had to form and learn what I did want because I did not have examples of positive marriages, if you will. What you looking at me for?
Because I can. A little hard to miss.
Stan Chambers. I told you.
You know what? 2 of y'all are hilarious. Come on, Jamila.
So can you all hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So for me, I had a gumbo pot full of the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of what marriage looked like. My grandparents were married 45 years before my grandfather passed, my mother's parents. My father's father was married 7 times, never could quite get it right. And then I also saw my great grandparents, my mother's grandparents, and she was married twice. She was widowed and then married my great grandfather, and then married my great grandfather. So I saw a whole lot of, and then my parents as well. They were married for 30 years, but again, in that 30-year time span, couldn't quite get it right. Um, so I saw what it to look like. And I came to the realization that, oh, well, I can create my own recipe for what marriage is supposed to be. And um, that's kind of how I walked into the whole marriage scenario. Literally, when I met my ex-husband, I'm dating myself again. Black Planet was still alive and well. And we met online, and he had posted the speech that Prince made. And I was like, wait a minute, this is actually an intelligent Black man. And I don't know him. I want to know him. And that was kind of how everything happened and evolved. And it went really fast. Not quite as fast as y'all, but it went fast. Because we were engaged within 6 months. And, we had the whole Cinderella fairy tale type situation. So in terms of what my examples were, I had so many examples that I was able to actually put together my own recipe, which has gotten me to a place, the place that I am now, in terms of the evolution of me and where I am. And that's a beautiful thing. I tell people now I'm happily divorced. I'm happily divorced, but it's not. It When I first said it, I said it in spite, but now I can genuinely say that it's from a good place because, like I said, he and I are actually friends now. So, yeah, I'm happily divorced, and I wouldn't change that. Now, would I get married again? I'm not going to say never, but I'm not going to say never, but that would have to be a powerful individual in my life to be able to get me to sign that document again.
Angel.
So I didn't grow up, well, let me say this. My grandmother raised me, so therefore there was no actual marriage in the household for me to see and know what to do or what not to do, or what's right versus what's wrong in marriage. Wrong. I've heard stories about about my grandmother's marriages. She's been married, divorced, three times. Three times, married, divorced. Hopefully she's not watching this live, and hopefully she doesn't call me after this live. Because she's learned how to use Facebook now. So I've heard her different stories about what she tolerated, what she didn't tolerate, what led to divorce, the multiple divorces, what she had to deal with during her marriage. My take on everything, I listen intently to what other people say. And the only marriage that I've seen up close, and not even really personal, but up close, would be my best friend's mom and stepdad. Love them to death. Like, I walk in the house like, hey, y'all, I'm home. Pour me up a shot, pour me up a drink. But I watched their marriage and the comfortability of it. Other than that, my view of marriage comes from watching A Different World 85,000 times. Just love the show. I loved how they started off friends, then dated, then got engaged, called off the engagement, then eventually got married. It shows the reality of it. It shows what could happen instead of what should happen. So yeah, I didn't really actually have somebody in the home.
Wendell?
Well, I would say, well, for me, the example of marriage was my parents, and it was in a, it was definitely from a Christian point of view. So, you know, my mom and dad, they're still married to this day. Um, and so while their faith and spirituality was definitely a cornerstone of their marriage, they did do practical things that contributed to their success over the years. They developed their own way of communication and conflict resolution. They checked in with each other when it came time to diffuse situations that were contentious. Um, they they took a self-sacrificial perspective when it came to the advancement of the other. So when my mother wanted to go back to school and get her higher education and her degree, my father picked up extra hours, you know, at the job. Um, so much so to the point where I remember times when I was a child um, being used to my dad not being home, and when he was there, I'd ask Dad, "Is there something wrong?" He'd say, "Why, son?" "No, why?" And I say, "Because you're here." And then to the flip side, when he wanted to go and get his advance his education, then my mother held down the house and did what she needed to do to facilitate the objectives of a strong family. So I can say that I had a very good overall picture of marriage and in a practical sense. But with it being a good picture, doesn't necessarily mean that it was an ideal one. Because as I grew up and matured through life and followed some of the same, steps that they did, one thing that I found in myself that maybe I didn't observe in them was the interpersonal aspect and vetting the partner. You know, uh, I can definitely say that I was more spiritually, and religiously influenced. And while I definitely did and still do love my former spouse, that there were definitely red flags that I did not pay proper attention to and give their proper care and credence, when vetting. And I'm sure that she could say the same thing about me because the spiritual influence as well as the influence of emotion, um, as the architect from the Matrix would say, superseded uh, logic and reason. And so, um, there are all of these aspects that go into being successfully married, and then also, just identifying the objective that you want to achieve. There's an intentionality that should go with the decision as important and as weighty as getting married to someone and saying words in your vows, which that's a whole nother, maybe another question in this Zoom about the feasibility and the practicality of the vows, but I digress. But in making the decision to join yourself to someone for what you profess to be a lifetime, in spite of all kinds of variables that could make uh, living together successfully more of a chore than something to cherish. Um, you know, these are all factors in the equation that, if not given their proper vetting and due diligence up front, they can have less than ideal consequences. But my parents did a wonderful job, and other family members that I had, they did a great job for their part. They did the best that they could with what they had, and then they worked everything else out along the way, and are still working it out to this day. So that's where some of my influences came from.
Okay. Next question. So, and you won't be able to answer this one. But
You
there is
didn't answer your question.
what is the hardest part?
You didn't answer your question.
What? What influence?
You didn't answer. You didn't answer.
Oh, I have many influences. Aunts and uncles it seems aunt, uncle, cousins. I saw a lot of them and what they did and did not go through, and I have a lot of friends. Also, I've been married. I learned in my marriage what I can and cannot handle. That was one of the best teachers in the world, going through the fire. And like Jamila said, now we're friends and we can laugh about all of this stuff. We're in the midst of it. We couldn't. We weren't supposed to be together that long. So as far as growing up, I grew up, my grandmother raised me. Bless her heart. My dad was in the atmosphere. My dad never married. He was honest enough to know and make it clear that marriage was not on his radar. That's not what he was going to do. And he stuck with that. Regardless of whatever else he did, he always was kind of cool, but he just said, I'm not getting married, I'm not doing it. So I knew that I had to understand some boundaries. If he told me he wasn't gonna get married from day one, believe him, period, point blank. But yeah, wherein, like by the time Angel came along, she didn't see a lot of stuff I did. I came along at my grandmother's end of the second, early the third marriage. I saw my grandmother have her moments of dating. Like, she ain't the only one she'd kill if she get on here.
I just wanted you to know, if I die, you gotta die too.
So let me give a disclaimer, because I'm not sure if it's saying the men to know. Angel is my little sister. So she's so that's why you hear us talk like that. Yeah, so I saw a whole lot more, and I saw a whole lot more of the aunts and uncles go through some things, because yeah, I was around when I wasn't supposed to be around sometimes. I stayed in a child's place. I stayed in a child's place often, but our great grandmother was married multiple times. So I remember different layers of this. So, but in the midst of it, I saw the strength that had to come through it and the understanding that had to happen on the other side. It wasn't always nice. They didn't always fight fair. However, the ones who made it. They said their piece. And a couple of them taught me, you say your piece. If you're going to stay with them, don't come bring it back up. And that was a very valuable lesson and came very true in my own marriage. If I'm going to say my piece one good time, and that's going to be it. I'm not bringing it back up anymore. So they taught me a lot of ways to understand and respecting boundaries, setting boundaries. I went through a lot of unnecessary stuff, but I digress. That's what that was. Okay. So my next question, as I talk about boundaries, name something in marriage that if you if you knew back when you were 20 versus everything that you knew now, what would you do differently? What were some of the pitfalls that you feel like you wish you could have avoided in this whole deal? Andrew, you may not be able to answer. This question won't be for you. This is your learning. But oh Jesus. Let's let's get the chambers, because they already looking. They already fronting up. So let's see what the chambers queen gonna say to me. Come on.
I don't know. No comment.
Yeah, we struggling. I don't know anything that I would have done differently, because it's where everything that we've done, whether it was good, bad, learning experience, got us to where we are at this point. So I can't really say I wouldn't have done this or I wouldn't have done that. Like Michelle, you know, I hated living in Florida. I set the whole damn state on fire if I could.
Why she talk about
But-
she talk about that like I wanted to move to Florida.
I'm
I didn't
not
want to move to
sa-
Florida.
I'm not saying you did, but what I'm saying is both of us hated it. But I think that on a scale of you could have lasted a little bit longer versus I was a ticking time bomb. I hated it. But even with hating living in Florida, so many things came out of it. You know, that's where, because we lived in Florida, when I lost my job teaching online and I didn't have the connections that I usually have in North Carolina, that forced me to sit down and finish the book that I started writing, which then took me to bestseller status, which then made me create Divine Legacy Publishing, which then led this author that writes nasty books into my life.
Wow. Plug on top of plug
On top of plug.
Wow.
But what I'm
Wow.
saying is,
You do that with.
but even you see what I'm saying? So even though I hated living in Florida and I hated being there, those things would not have happened in North Carolina, because had I lost my job in North Carolina, boom, I would have had another one before the end of the week. I have too many connections here that wouldn't have stayed. But it forced me to do something else. So even in that, which, I mean, if I had to pinpoint something of when I hated life at that point, it was living in Florida. So, but even in that, something came out of it, so I wouldn't change it, you know? So I kind of struggled to think of something that I quote unquote wish I knew, or how I would change it, or how I would do it different. I don't think I would do anything different.
I mean, I would have done a full background check.
Whatever.
You know, I mean, I did a criminal background check on her, but I didn't do.
He really did do a criminal background check
Yeah,
on
I
me
did.
too.
I don't play.
He was a reporter when we got together. He did a criminal background check on me, and I did a credit check on him. Sure did.
Well,
Angel, you taking notes over there?
Sure did.
yeah, do a criminal background check.
What?
And-
I didn't have any criminal background.
Yeah, actually, you did.
Okay, but that doesn't count.
It still showed up though.
But it doesn't count.
Still showed up. Though.
Okay, whatever.
Nonetheless, you got a phone call about it.
I did.
And I was like, so a little context. So I was a newspaper crime reporter, and the North Carolina court system was switching to a new system to where you could look up people's backgrounds. And so I'm in the training center learning how to use the new system. And I was like, let me look up my dear buddy Amanda here. Saw a few things, and I made a phone call.
Mind you, we were dating at the time, and we were not. This was right before we moved in together, and I was sitting in his apartment because I lived 2 hours away. Well, almost. What's Greenville? An hour and 45 minutes.
Sure.
And so, but I only had Tuesday, Thursday classes. So Thursday afternoon after class, I would drive up, and I would leave Tuesday morning to get down to my class. It was my last year of school, last semester in my last year of school, and I had 2 classes. That was it. So I'm sitting in his living room, cross-legged, working on a paper and watching reruns of Flavor of Love. That's how long ago this was, the original Flavor of Love. And he calls me, goes, so just a quick question. I see here that you've had some speeding tickets, and there's the matter of this arrest. I said, sir, what are you doing? Well, I was looking up your background. Oh, that's what we're doing on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's what we do.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. So yes, he looked up my criminal background.
No regrets.
Okay, so we're gonna just move on from there. Jamila.
Listen, the chambers are giving me life this evening, so for me, I don't know that I would say when I look back at my 20s, Do I think I would have gotten married as soon as I did? I was 25 when I got married. Probably not, but because of the legacy that was built in my world, part of me felt like if I didn't hurry up and get married in my 20s, I was going to be an old maid. So, but that was my personal decision. It had nothing to do with him. When I sit back and think, I wouldn't have changed anything. It has evolved me. So I'm with them. I don't have any regrets. Listen, I'm taking notes though. Like, do criminal check, do credit check. I'm doing all the checks now, you know. even in how I'm rocking, I'm gonna start doing criminal check. Stan, I'm gonna find out how to do that now. I'm gonna find out how to do that because I need to do some checks on some people.
It's really not that hard in North Carolina. So if you need help, just let me know.
Wow.
Listen, I'm in Georgia, so.
Oh, I'm sure it's the same deal. Like we can talk offline, but it's not that hard.
I can tell you how to do it.
Cool. Listen, somebody show me. I need to know what that background looked like.
Okay, Wendell, come on.
Okay. So you're basically asking me to play around with the time stone here and the infinity gauntlet. Had I known then what I know now, would I do something differently?
Right.
Okay. So yes, but let me also just reiterate the statement that I stated before, that we do the best we can based on the information that we have at the time. And that's not only the information that we have about the other person, but it's also the information that we have about ourselves, who we are at that particular point in time in our growth and evolution process. So me having today gone through and evolved to a certain level, looking back and trying to impart the benefit of that knowledge to my pre-engaged, pre-married self, I would say, make sure that you validate your feelings as much as you attempt to validate hers. Because going along to get along is a recipe for resentment. And if you are constantly deferring to your partner under the pretense of preserving the peace, then you're actually building an altar to your own destruction. Because your feelings, your emotions, your perspectives, your point of views are just as valid as your partners are, even if they may have more of an ability to articulate or argue their point. And that just goes to the whole thing about how men communicate versus women historically and stereotypically. Women may use a whole lot more words to get their point across. They may go from A to Q to B to Z to F, and then all the way back to Y and then back to Z again when making their point. Whereas, brother, you may go from A to B to C to D. And those differences in communication style can lead to, in and of themselves, miscommunication. And in order to preserve the peace in your household, you're like, okay, I was like, all right, whatever. Okay, you got it. I just want the argument to end without there being an actual resolution. So I also arguing feelings rather than arguing issues. There's no way that as a husband, I can solve your feelings because those are your feelings. It's your responsibility to manage your emotions. It's not my responsibility as your husband to manage how you feel about anything. That's your job as a human being and as a fully functioning, autonomous, red-blooded, bipedal human female. However, in the context of the religious aspect that I came up in, it was about deferring to your wife, leading her in love and somehow leading her in love, in my previous understanding, resulted in a lot of capitulation of points. And that was just a flaw and an underdevelopment in my ability to effectively communicate, and then also allowing her to kind of, for example, for all intents and purposes, take advantage of that inadequacy or inefficiency in myself. So again, I would just say that if I had to give myself some advice, stick to your guns, son. Your points are just as valid as hers, and
Wait a minute, Mr. Berry.
having a
Are you
difference of opinion
suggesting,
don't make you wrong.
are you suggesting that women are from Venus and men are from Mars?
Women are from someplace where men don't typically reside. So yeah, absolutely. How in the world as a Martian, if I'm marrying someone from Venus and I don't speak Venusian, how in the hell am I supposed to understand and communicate effectively? And similarly, you speak Venusian and I'm from Mars, you don't speak Martian, but somehow we're supposed to get along in this thing and supposed to make it 40, 50, 70, 80 years or until death do us part. Shoot, we're going to end up killing each other if we don't come up with our own conversation, our own language. And most people don't do that.
Okay, so I have another question then, and maybe the chambers can chime in on this. Is there a possibility that you might have a woman from Mars and a man from Mars that actually effectively communicate with each other?
It is funny that you said that. As he was saying, women and men speak different languages, I was like, luckily I speak asshole, so I can understand you, baby.
Meh. Every once in a while, you need to update your translation. But,
Whatever. I speak his language and I understand him. And although he would swear to you that I'm the emotional one and not him,
no, it's her.
it's
Definitely her.
you, sir. You are so.
Definitely her.
You are like Carl Thomas.
Definitely her. No.
You're emotional.
Whoa!
And you can't
Stop
let
using my jokes. Stop using my jokes.
Yes.
What the hell?
Whatever.
You gotta have Facebook thinking like, oh, she's the witty one, but you're using my jokes.
I am the witty one.
You're using my jokes. Stop.
What are you talking about? Anyway.
Stop.
Anyway.
Stop, Milli Vanilli.
So Milli Vanilli?
Yeah.
Oh, not the lip syncing.
That was low. That was cutthroat.
Okay.
Oh Lord! I said I wasn't gonna let the Facebook world see him get beat up today.
Come up with your own jokes.
Anyway, so, but I speak his language and he speaks mine. Even though he thinks I'm emotional, he knows what. You don't have to agree. Why don't you calm down? Why don't you calm down?
I'm just affirming.
I'm gonna affirm something in a second.
I'm just affirming you.
Anyway, so he understands me. Like I'll come in the room and he'll take one look at me and be like, what is it? What is it? And likewise, I get what I know when he gets in these moods. Like he goes through like these, what do I call them?
I don't know.
Your man period. What do I call it?
No such thing.
Okay, whatever. But that's what he goes through. And I'm like, all right, so what's bothering you? Because here's what we're not going to do today. So why don't you just get it out? What's wrong? So we do speak each other's language. Now, that wasn't in the beginning. In the beginning, there were quite a few fights before we figured out how to speak each other's language. Because we're two different types of assholes, if you will.
Do tell.
He's a sarcastic asshole, and if you bring me something bullshit, I'm a turn into an asshole. And so because he was being sarcastic and I didn't speak his language, I thought he was bringing me bullshit, and then here I go turn into an asshole because you done pissed me off. And so
there's a punch in that one. Go ahead.
Really?
Go ahead.
That's what we're doing?
No, go ahead.
Well, dang. So we've got basically a sphincter and a colon.
I don't like you.
I'm not here to be liked.
Why are you acting like this?
I'm not here to be liked.
But yes, that's what we have, Wendell. Yes. So it's like you have to learn their language, and it's not men are from, what is it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Sure.
It's not that, because that's a blanket and kind of like an overstatement. All women aren't the same. For example, Stan says I'm sensitive, but I'm not sensitive in the way that you would typically think a woman is sensitive. Like I've come from getting dressed in the closet. I've come out the closet in the outfit and him been like, that ain't it today. And I'm like, all right.
I had to toughen her up though.
What? You did not. I'm from Baltimore. We don't need toughening.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever.
I had to toughen her up.
He did not.
Yeah.
He did not. So anyway, you know, so I'm not sensitive in that respect, the way that you typically would attribute sensitivity to women. I'm kind of the opposite. But he's sensitive too. He tried to act like he's not sensitive, but he gets in his feelings.
Oh, do I?
Oh my God.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
But is the admission of having feelings the same thing as getting in your feelings?
I don't think so, because he gets in his feelings. Like he does the definition of and I'm like, dude.
Is there something wrong with caring?
No, there's nothing wrong
with wanting to love.
Oh, wait.
And to want others to be loved. Is there something wrong with that?
I thought we were being serious.
Am I being judged?
I thought we're not being serious.
Yeah, we are being serious.
No,
actually.
we're not.
Yeah,
okay.
we are.
Okay. With that smirk on your face? No, we're not.
I'm just eternally happy.
Stan, it's the Stan smirk. Are you kidding me? You can't even keep a straight face.
Because you make me smile.
What?
Hey, like the Godfather would say, you can't make this shit up, man.
I'm eternally happy.
You're nobody who knows.
Not at all.
Right now.
Not at all.
That's because I control it really well.
Y'all see what I have to deal with?
Oh, poor you.
And which brings up another good point about marriage. You fit with who you fit with.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I fit with this dude because his crazy compliments my slight craziness.
Slight, huh?
You way worse than me.
Oh no, come on now. Yin and yang balance each other out.
Hold it on, right.
Wait. 5 minutes ago,
similar levels of crazy.
Like 5 minutes ago, she was like, I'm from Baltimore.
I am from Baltimore. That doesn't mean I'm crazy. That means I'll cut you.
No.
That doesn't mean I'm crazy.
Baltimore is the definition.
But it doesn't mean that you're not.
You know who you are.
I know who I am.
Don't deny yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, his particular brand of crazy compliments my crazy. And the things that we say and do are unique to us. And that's why whenever somebody says, you know, oh, old married couple, I don't know when we became an old married couple because we've been married for 13 years. So I don't really consider that like OG marriage.
Plus I'm not old.
You're older than me.
I don't look it.
Who said you looked it? You're older than me.
Sure.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so you may forget what I was saying. Oh, when the piece of advice that I always give people is don't try to pattern your marriage and your relationship off of an ideal, off of what you've seen other people do, because your marriage is going to be unique to you, your communication style, the things that are important to you and your spouse. And what works for us could not work for other people. I'm telling you, the level of crazy, and then we brought a whole crazy tiny human into it. So we have this little person that's like half me, half him, and it's frightening. But also how we raise her, how we talk to each other, how we interact is unique to us, and it works for us. But it would not work, for somebody else. It would be like, whoa, y'all doing too much. But it's perfect for us. Sure. That's I just said 10 paragraphs and your response is sure.
That's because you like to talk.
Oh man, we on the live internet.
Just like Wendell said, I'm A, B, C, D. You're A, Q, X, F, R, Y, C.
No, I'm just FU.
That's okay.
No, why are you turning the camera?
Focus on me now. No,
mad.
You can go.
You started it. I didn't start it. You started it. I didn't start it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You started it. I didn't start it. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, wait. Yep. Okay, so the next question. Well, answer this one. What I do differently?
Sorry,
Um,
no, didn't work. Didn't I say that?
my thing would be I would just I would have moved sooner. I think that was the biggest thing. I would have been more honest and transparent to myself about myself. So I think that would be my difference because he did his stuff, I did mine, but I think I lived in a state of not truly knowing who I was. And after I got divorced, I really took a time to learn me because I got married at 18. So I was married from 18 to 31. So I think after it was over with, yeah, start doing the math and the calculations. And 18 to 31, I was married. So, so
Wait, we 18 years apart, so you was married before I came along, girl. I
we're
don't remember.
16 years apart, baby girl. 16 close to 17 years. You born right before my 17th birthday. You were born right before I was a senior in high school. At the end of my junior year. So I think that would be the biggest thing that I would say I would do differently in this whole process. Jesus, bless y'all. So y'all have given me my life today. So next question. What if, as you're looking at the next generation and had to tell them something about what marriage is, what would be advice that you would tell them to look at to understand before they got married? Not no key. We're not talking about to make a perfect marriage. What is something that you know made a difference, makes a difference in the marriage? And I'll start with the very basic one. Communication. Communication is key. Learning when to walk off from anger is key. Sometimes you shouldn't talk when you're mad because that can make a situation turn into an all-out, kick-out, drag-out fight. So that's mine. What say you? We're gonna start with Jamila. Angel, you're gonna give us your understanding of life from that point, and then we're gonna have the chambers.
So I would agree with you. I grew up in do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Definitely, that would be a huge one. Um, the second thing I would say is marriage isn't for everybody. It absolutely isn't for everybody. Know thyself. Know thyself. Had in that hindsight being 2020, I probably wouldn't have gotten married until I was about 35, as opposed to 25. Because I had an opportunity to learn who I am, who I was, who I was becoming, who I am now. And so now you're talking about 30 years, married at 25, divorced at 35, and now here I am at 45. And I'm like, my mother was blessed enough to actually find somebody who is an amazing man, who's 20 years her senior. And originally I was like, oh, really? We got a sugar daddy going on, or is this husband for real? But it was something that was true to her. And I still refer to him as Mr. Tanner. I love him. I love him as a stepfather. I love him for how he treats my mother. Um, and and I look at that and I say, okay, maybe I might try it again. But it is absolutely, I would tell the younger generation, walk in your truth. It's not, you don't have to get married. It's not something that is written in stone. You're not an old maid. Lord have mercy, you are not an old maid if you don't get married by a certain age. That's the one thing I would definitely tell them. And whomever you love, define it in your space with each other, how it works. I'm sitting here, and yes, the chambers are absolutely giving us life tonight. But you know, that I would believe was work that had to be done, to figure out, whatever levels of communication that they've come to. So you have to define what your relationship is going to be according to you and that partner before you sign that marital contract and say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what I'm not going to do, you know. um, so yeah, for me, and but that also falls into the level of communication. Even in the world and lifestyle that I live now, communication is everything. It's everything. And I think, whether it is monogamous or, as I'm polyamorous, if you can't function and communicate and talk to the people, to address whatever feelings you are in or whatever feelings you are feeling, you're already in trouble. You are already in trouble. So definitely, I would say define uh, define what it is that you want your marriage to look like, and communicate that from the very beginning. And that's what I
Angel.
Wait, okay, you can hear me. Well, I am younger generation, kind of, it's wherever you want to put me. That I can guess that's where I am. I would say, first of all, depending on how old, okay, so yeah, depending on how old you are, because there are some that are in their 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, and then late 20s, and then early 30s. I look at it as though, like, some people, and it works for them. There are some people that are getting married earlier, and that's what they want to do, or that's what they think they want to do. And it works for them. That's their business. I would say, if you're single, have fun, enjoy life, don't rush it. What's for you will come to you when it needs to come to you. You can't make something come to you, then when it gets to you, it might not be yours. It might not be that time for you. So that's the one thing I'll say is live life, experience, meet new people, travel, meet new people, experience new people, create relationships, friendships, business partners, whatever you want to do. Enjoy life while you're young, because you're gonna wake up one day and you're gonna look back and be like, dang, I didn't even have a chance to do all this X, Y, and Z, A, B, C. As far as another thing that I would say, get off social media. These social media marriages, while some of them are legit, some of them are real, but we have learned with Derek Jackson's situation, as well as other relationship marriage gurus, it's not all what it is to be. So get off social media. Stop letting social media put in your mind that you're supposed to be married at this age and be married for this long, or this is how a marriage is supposed to go. You do what works for you. You do what works for you. And my last thing, it has something to do with communication. Somebody said, you don't go to bed angry. And I'm really drawing a blank about what I was going to say about that. When it comes back to me, I'll say it. But that is a very true statement. You do not go to bed angry. And this is honestly all out of humor. I have seen a post on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere pretty much. It said that somebody taught them, they said, you don't go to bed angry with your significant other. and the post said that we've been up since last Friday. You know, so that was the humor in that. But when I figure out what I wanted to say about the communication, I'll come back and say, because I can't remember right now.
What was the question again? Forgot.
Well, if you could tell the next generation something about marriage and what it takes, what advice would you give to them? Just something simple that you know that they need to understand, especially knowing how this next generation seems to be coming along.
Would you like to go first? Dear.
Oh, you had to say it like that.
This is where I said it.
Anyway, do things in your own time, in your own way. Don't subscribe to preconceived notions. Don't subscribe to what you've read in books. Romance novels are great. I write them. They're wonderful, but
Meh.
be realistic in your quest for marriage and love, because romance novels are supposed to be fairy tale and life ain't fairy tale. And do things in your time. We were not meant to be parents in our 20s, him and I. We're much better parents in our, well, I'm in my 30s. He's in his 40s.
Barely. You look like you in your 50s.
Wow. That's it. That's it.
Assault.
That is it.
This is recorded, right?
That is it, Stan Chambers.
Assault.
Anyway. Oh my God. Anyway, so we are much better parents. We traveled when we first got married. We're in a sorority and a fraternity, so we traveled to our meetings, and we went here. One time we drove all the way from North Carolina to Miami.
Don't do that, drive, fly.
Yeah, fly. Don't do that, drive. And then one time we drove all the way up to Vermont. That was for Sienna's graduation.
Also fly.
Also fly. And we flew to Texas. We went here, we went there. So by the time we had our daughter, I was 30. I turned 32 the month after I had her, and he was already 34. And so we were much more settled down. We still like to travel. We take her with us now, but we're not in our 20s trying to have fun with a kid tagging along. We're in our 30s and we already tired by 8 o'clock anyway.
You tired by 8 o'clock.
Sir, don't even start it. You be going to bed early all the time, telling me I'm just worn out.
Just because I've worked in the morning.
Oh, no.
Yes.
You be going to bed early on the weekends too.
It's because I do a lot of crap. Anyways.
Right. Okay. So again, you prove my point.
No.
Okay. Got it. Anyway, so, do things in your own way, in your own time, in the way that works for you. There's some people, I have friends who had kids early, and their kids are going off to college now, and now they can have fun in their 40s. That was not me. I needed to be wild and have fun in my 20s and chill and do all the things that we did. And so now in his 40s anyway.
Wow. Okay, Granny.
Whatever. We still travel. We still have, before the parallelogram, we traveled a lot. Now we just got our Fauci ouchies. So we're going to go and we can travel again now, but we take our daughter with us. We're settled down. We own businesses, and we're teaching our daughter entrepreneurial stuff, but we wouldn't have done that in our 20s. Neither one of us. We were way too out there in different ways nonetheless. So that is my advice to younger generation, is to do it the way that it's right for you in your time, and don't force it. There's no such thing as an old maid now. There's no such thing as I'm too old to have kids. We got 50-year-old women having kids. So you do it in your own time and in your own way. Would you like to add anything, dear?
Yeah, sure. So I would just quickly add that, and everybody's pretty much alluded to this, it's just to really know yourself. And as what's been said before, marriage isn't for everyone. Don't feel like you need to fit into some box, because you don't want to find out 5-10 years in that you were actually the square peg and you're trying to fit into a a square.
Well, the square peg would go.
Well, square. Yeah, wouldn't it? Be quiet. The triangle hole or whatever. And so, yeah, triangle. You remove triangle. Because we live in triangle. So you don't want to feel like you are out of place. And so sometimes it's just better to say no. But if somebody asks you to get married and you say no, you might want to follow up with a little explanation behind that. Just don't be like, "No, I'm good." Just explain that you're just not in that space, whether like mentally, financially, whatever the case may be. And so I think just really knowing who you are is in just knowing if you're built to be in a sustained relationship. It's not for everyone, and there's no shame in being single. But I think more importantly, it's just a matter of owning who you are.
And piggybacking off of that,
oh boy,
I was about to give you a compliment, and you can't even behave long enough to get it
because you talk forever. So go on.
Anyway, also being with someone who lets you be who you are. You have to know who you are, but you have to be with someone who lets you be who you are. I am this crazy combination of like artsy, craftsy, covered in glitter and paint, want to write, dance around and sing at the top of my lungs to music. Like I'm just kind of
horribly. Oh, did I say that out loud?
What life are you living right now?
A great one.
What life?
One where I have to hear you sing. So maybe not
anyway,
so greatly, but
anyway. So I'm just, this out there, but I'm also an introvert. I don't like people. I'll talk to you in the store if I have to, but I don't like large groups of people. I don't like, which is ironic since I'm in a sorority, but I don't like a lot of people, and I don't like a lot of that. And he knows that about me, and he lets me be me. He lets me, like, when I lost my job teaching, like I said earlier, he didn't say, go get another job. He was like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I think I want to finish writing this book. And he was like, all right, well, you got until the end of the year. Wait a minute, sir. I didn't ask for no deadlines.
Well, you got one.
But, well, I got one, but I met it.
Barely.
But, and then when I decided I wanted to start the publishing company, he was like, all right, what do you need? You need a logo? You need a website? What do you need? He's always been like, okay, so you want to do that. So he lets me be me. And likewise, I let him be him. He's himself. But
wow. Hate much? Okay.
But so we've always allowed each other to be who we are. I've always, been this retro cat line eyes, cat glasses, and all of that. And he's let me be me. And I've let him be him. And you have to, of course, know yourself to know that someone is letting you be you, but don't get with someone who makes you change who you are. So yeah, that would also be advice I would give. See, I gave you a compliment.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it was in there. You had to like dig through it to figure it out.
It was there nonetheless. Okay, whatever.
It was like that prize in the middle of Lucky Charms. We had to eat like 8 bowls just to get to it.
You ate the cereal? I just dumped it out. What's wrong with you?
Well, because I like the cereal.
Okay, but you just dump it in a big bowl,
but
get the gift out, and then
cereal.
You put it back in the bowl.
But why would you do all that work? Just eat the cereal.
Because you gotta get through 8 bowls of cereal. You gotta wait 8 days.
But you're gonna eat the cereal anyway. Just eat the damn cereal.
But you gotta wait. Okay.
See, Baltimore.
Can I just say they are the 2021 Cosby's Huxtables.
Ridiculous.
They're the 2021 Huxtables. I love it so much.
So my next question: how merging finances and marriage? How do finances and marriage work? How did you have to maneuver? How do you have the discussion about who has what money, what debt is coming into the marriage? What works when you're having these money talks, whether it's before you get married or at the beginning parts of the marriage, or even in the middle? What money talks are necessary so that you guys won't end up in a jacked up situation? Come on, Jamila.
So I have a financial background, as did my mother. So I was very early on taught her account, his account, house account. That's
Mhm.
simple. Then she has her account to do. If she wants to do 15 savings accounts for everything, for Christmas, for Easter, for Mother's Day, for vacation, for her vacation, for their vacation, for the kids' vacation, the family vacation. Listen, her account, his account, house account. That's if I gave no other advice, if I got no other great advice from anybody in terms of relationship and finances, if you are going to cohabitate, there has to be a house account. And now with the house account, contribution has to be agreed upon. If it's a percentage, if she makes more than him, then she gonna put in more than he does, and vice versa. If he makes more than her, he's gonna put in. On the other hand, if they both agree on a set amount, if everybody's putting in $1,000 a month or a week, or every other week, whatever, then that's what it is. Now, whatever happens after that, it's her account, his account, and you have to learn to budget accordingly. But we don't touch that house savings, house check. House saving is for the house, the down payment, because y'all still in an apartment when you first got married. House saving is for if anything happens to the car. House saving is for any emergencies that happen in the family. House saving. House checking is for rent / mortgage, car payments, utilities, any other things that you have that are right now situations. So, and the one thing I can say is me and my ex-husband handled that part of our marriage very well. We handled it very well because we came in the door knowing that, understanding that, agreeing upon how we were going to move in that. Even for a time, I was a stay-at-home wife and mom, and there was still my account, his account. So, whatever money that he was going to allot to make sure that I could take care of other things, I still had. Grandmama and them taught you, baby, anything can happen. Keep you a little something on the side. Still had a little something on the side. But that was very old school. Now, most people in the world adult and they work. So, that was, for me, that was an absolute gem to understand, okay, so I can have my play money and I can Amazon all I want to out of my money as long as it's not hitting the bills. As long as it's not hitting the bills, I can do all of it. Okay, that works for me. So in terms of how the finances work, that would be, even for next generation, that would be probably my best advice given, because it, like I said, that was definitely not one of our trouble spots in our marriage. So that's my advice.
Angel.
So I was always told the same thing as Jamila. Not even told, because I like I said, I watched certain movies, TV shows, and then I've never really had a discussion as far as marriage goes and finances with any of my family or friends. Of course, my grandmother would throw out stuff here and there, but at the time, I really wasn't trying to hear it because I was younger than I am now. So I've always known about and I've also learned some stuff. When I did have my relationships, I learned from their parents, depending on who I was in a relationship with. So his account, the her account, and then the joint house account, or the joint account for the house and bills. That's always what I've learned. And of course, contributing to that house account every so often, depending on what you and your significant other agree upon. I know people that actually combine their accounts, like whole accounts, like they combine his checking, her checking to one, and then they create these like miniature accounts outside of that big joint account. And I just be like, at this point, you might as well have just created a joint account. What was the purpose in that? But majority of the money is in that house account. And then, of course, the little bit on the side, just in case something happens tomorrow and we need a little something for a storm, a hurricane, a tornado. So I'm still learning. Yeah, that's it.
Chambers crew. If they could finish arguing with each other.
They're not hearing us.
Yeah, they could finish arguing with each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Mhm.
So, how are our finances set up? That is
Yeah.
a very good question.
Yeah, do share. Mhm.
So Stan and I are not the best with money. However, we are two not the best. We're two different, not the best with money. Stan will say, "Oh, it's a paycheck. Let me go buy what I want. And then whatever's left over, I'll figure out how to pay these bills." Let me pay all these bills. And then I can play with whatever's left over. Not either one is not the best way to approach it, but the way that will keep us from living out the back of the car while it's being repossessed is my way. So I handle the money in the house. I've handled the money in the house pretty much our whole relationship, right?
Allegedly.
And we have what Angel was talking about, the big joint account where everybody's paycheck goes in it. Whatever. And then we do have like each have a separate checking account for like our allowance money, but that's it. Everything goes in joint savings, joint checking, joint everything. And it is better that way because Stan, much as I love him and he is amazing at other things, he is terrible at money. And I would hate to have to continuously kill him every month because we sitting in the dark because the lights were his bill.
Oh, really?
And so it just works better for us.
Does it?
Why are you messing with me?
No, I'm just like,
why are you messing with me?
Just,
why are you messing with me?
You
are content. You are content to not have to pay the bills and have to worry about that.
I'm just affirming.
You're affirming it?
Yes, I'm affirming your statement.
Thank you, dear. But that's how we do it. And that way I don't have to worry about or have to go behind and be like, Stan, did you pay that bill? Stan, did you pay that bill? The most that he does with the payment and stuff like that is he pays, like he'll go and physically pay our rent and stuff like that. But other than that, that's it. I don't even think you know when bills are due. Do you?
I have so much.
Okay.
I have the weight of the world on my shoulders.
That's the way he says no, he doesn't.
No, I just have the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Okay, Stan.
So I can't worry about.
But yeah, that's how we do
bills.
it. And he's happy as long as he gets the bills are paid and he gets his chunk of change to go buy tennis shoes. He's content. There's an alarming amount of Amazon boxes at our house, nearly daily.
Nearly? Okay.
I go some days.
Okay.
I do go some days. Did I get boxes? Oh, I did today.
Yeah. About that.
I didn't get any yesterday, did I? I don't know. But anyway, that's what works for us. And it's worked for us for years. So don't break it if it ain't broken. Well, don't break it if it ain't broken. Don't fix it if it ain't broken.
Don't break it if it ain't broken.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's us. Why are you messing with me?
Mess with yourself.
I'm not messing with myself. You messing with myself.
No.
So the next part of marriage, we've talked about for Richard.
Wait. I have a question. Well, not necessarily a question, but an extra chime in. about the finances.
Mhm.
Investment, invest together, invest separately. I learned that from him, which was probably one of the greatest gifts he could have ever given me, because I was extremely ignorant to what the stocks were, how to read the stocks. I'll say that. I was familiar with CDs and things like that. I was familiar with 401ks, but I didn't really know how they worked. And he was the one who taught me that. Because honestly, that could be your extra play money. So learning different ways and strategies in terms of how you build your joint wealth is, I think, really important. And so I would definitely say, if you have a 401k, learn and understand to get knowledge to be able to grow and build. Also, learn to understand the stock market. I know, sometimes people are like, well, I don't understand it. I want get to know it, get to know it. And I'm not saying take all of your extra spending money and go invest in that. But, when you're a family unit, then it is important to build some type of generational education. I'll say, I won't even call it generational wealth, but for us, it was and still is a priority to build that generational wealth for our children. So understanding the different financial streams that you can go into. He's a tech guy. I could still call him today. Hey, I need help with this tech situation. We're both entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but we were able to function and flow in it really well and achieved a lot in our entrepreneurial goals. So understanding exactly where you are and in terms of different financial dynamics is really important. It's not as simple as just getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month or every week for that matter. It's not just that simple. There's a whole gamut of what finances looks like. And it's really important that you sit down and that you talk about that. And what does that look like to each other? We still do, because, as long as we have children that are in school, it's beyond, okay, I pay my child support and that's what it is. We have children, and we agreed when we got divorced, we sat down and said, okay, our time has passed. Our job now is to be the best parents that we can possibly be. That involves making sure that we have invested and are continuing to invest in our children. So it's very important that, if he finds something that is going to help me financially, hey, go look at this stock. Cool, appreciate you. And he called me and he asked me, he was like, okay, can you break down what Forex is? Cool, got you, appreciate you. So, understanding different realms of what finances looks like within a marriage is really, really important. So that's the other people to look at, because a lot of times we look at, okay, we're getting this paycheck and we're hustling and struggling to get this one paycheck, when there are a gamut of other streams of income that can come in that can build you up as a couple, within your marriage, within your relationship. And so, a lot of times when you talk about divorce rates, it's usually sexual or financial. Finances don't necessarily have to be that bottom line. You could have all kinds, 99 problems, but finances does not have to be one. So I just wanted to drop that nugget also, because that would definitely fall in line with the finances.
Okay. So now that we've talked about for rich and for poor, now let's talk about for sickness and health. how do you all manage each other being sick, the health? How do you work to keep each other in a good space, whether it's weight loss, whether it's taking prescribed medicines? What do you do? How do you maneuver the for sickness and for health waters in your marriage? Well, in life with your partner. Chambers, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, Chambers. Go ahead.
You just choose violence consistently.
No.
We've had some health scares. Why are you looking at me like that?
Go ahead, talk.
You're such a creep.
Quiet.
So we've had some health issues. A good portion of them have been me. I will say that.
Majority, actually.
Violence. You're choosing violence. You understand that, right? Okay.
Oh, am I?
So I think the first like big health thing was when the midget was born, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was something before.
What was it?
I don't remember.
Anyway, when I had our daughter, I had to have an emergency C-section. I was in hospital for about a week. And when I came home, because they had to pump me with so much medicine and so many medicines to counteract the medicines that they had put in and all of that, I was like super swollen. We had a Malibu and I couldn't even get in the back seat. I had to ride in the front seat and put the newborn in the back seat by herself, which I did not like. And it was very hard for me to maneuver. And Stan stepped up to the plate to the extent of I was so swollen I couldn't reach back to wipe. So guess who had to do that? You know, so he has, but it was not traumatic, whatever. So he has gone above and beyond when it comes to in sickness and health. He's looked out. I was actually in the hospital last year in September, damn near died, but made it through. And he slept downstairs. I couldn't walk up the stairs after the surgery that I had to have. And he slept downstairs, made sure that I walked and did everything that I needed to do. So, you know, he has gone above beyond. That's not saying I haven't looked out for him, because while my sicknesses, if you will, have been like short-lived, and it's like recover from a surgery or recover from this, he has a chronic illness that you don't?
Sure, allegedly.
Okay, so he's diabetic. And so, you know, I've taken care of him. I changed the way that we eat, changed the type of food. We're all organic, non-GMO. And then when I say that to people, they're like, they kind of look at me like, oh, well, you still plus size. Okay, because an organic cookie is still a cookie. An organic candy bar is still candy. Organic bread is still bread. It just doesn't have all the chemicals that contribute to spiking in blood sugar and stuff like that. So, you know, we've looked out for each other and tried to keep each other alive, if you will. And I mean, even to the point now where last year I'd lost a lot of weight, but then the surgery and some things that happened after it, I put the weight back on. So now he's like, do you need that ice cream? And I'm like,
kind of like yesterday
with the Pop-Tarts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so it's you know, give and take. And I don't think either one of us, when we get on each other about, you know, stuff, if we see each other slipping, I don't think we've ever really taken it personal, because we know that it's like, I'm looking out for him, he's looking out for me, and not trying to be mean or petty. You know, like he did not meet my Pop-Tarts yesterday. And
you're welcome.
While I wanted to roundhouse kick him in the throat at the time, it was for the best, because I did not need them. Not only that, but Pop-Tarts are like my one fallback, like the one thing that I will eat that's is non-GMO or not organic. And it's just because it's Pop-Tarts, man. Come on, the brown sugar. Come on. So, so he told me I didn't need them. I guess I didn't, whatever. But it's never like I take offense or I think that he's being mean and vice versa. You know, he likes to have his his alcoholic drinks, and that doesn't always vibe with being a diabetic. And so, I'll be like, yeah, you already had one. Why don't we chill? And he'll make that face, but then he'll chill. So, that's what it is. And we have to hop off at 9 because he has another call and I have to get the midget in bed. But yeah, I just want to say that before we just disappeared. You on mute, Michelle.
So before we let you go, let's get you one more question. How do you resolve conflict?
Yes, Amanda. How do we resolve conflict? Please share with the class, shall we? Yes.
Am I giving the PC answer or am I giving the real
No,
answer?
no. I mean, do how you do.
Cuss his ass out.
Oh, do you? How does it make you feel?
If you have earned a cuss out from me, then you earned it.
I mean, but how do you feel? Do you feel good about that?
Stop messing with me, please. But the way that our cussing, like both of us are cussers. Like, when you have kids and it's like, oh, I have to taper my cussing. And we tried that for one day while I was pregnant. One day. We lasted not even that whole day before we were like, fuck it. We just gonna have to teach our baby not to say curse words because this ain't what it is. We can't do this. So like, while other people argue, I cuss, he cusses. So it'll be like, okay, why the fuck did you do that? Because I fucking felt like it. And it's like blah, 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 blah. And we don't do the going to bed mad. I think in the, 15 years we've been together, almost 16 years. I think we've gone to bed mad maybe twice. And that's because I didn't need to talk to him because I was planning my episode of Snapped. I was writing the script and I was trying to figure out, who they should interview that would give a really good take on who I was and, before I snapped, whatever. And so, but we don't do the going to bed thing. In later years, I have learned to walk away and I have learned what his triggers are when arguing. So I don't do them. He doesn't like to be screamed at. So I won't scream at him. I cuss him out, but I won't scream at him. He very much doesn't like it when you throw things at him.
Plus I have better aim.
Yeah, he does. So, the way that we argue is still within us understanding each other and our languages. We don't overstep those bounds. He knows if you call me a bitch, you got to die. If that's it. That's it. You got to die. It's over. Life, whatever you do, whatever your Jesus is, you talk to him because you about to meet him. And so he doesn't, and we don't do the things that we know are triggers for each other, even in the heat of the moment. I can think of one time in probably the last 10 years that we've done something that was a trigger that we knew was a trigger, and that was me. And I knocked all the shit off his desk. He pissed me off. I knocked all that shit off his desk.
Baltimore.
What? Anyway.
Was I wrong? Am I wrong?
What does Baltimore have to do with me knocking the shit off your desk? Anyway, but even when we argue, and we made it a point when we had our daughter that we wouldn't let her see arguments and stuff like that. She's probably seen I think one argument, and that was the day I knocked all the shit off your desk.
Yeah, good job.
Mom. You made me really mad that day. But
you made yourself mad that day.
You made myself mad. Don't start it. Don't start it. Don't start it. Anyway, but that's kind of how we argue. Am I right? I mean, you can chime in whenever you want.
Ditto. Yeah. Ditto.
So ghetto here. It is so ghetto here.
Please.
So ghetto. You know what?
Whatever.
My Chambers crew, I thank you for being a part of this. I know you guys are going to drop off because they 55, but I so thank you. You guys have given us life for the week. For giving us the
For having us.
week.
Hey, you looking at me.
What? I mean, you're there.
And they still arguing.
There.
I don't know why you choose violence. All right, y'all, we're gonna go because he's choosing violence.
Yeah,
Good
nobody's
night,
worried.
y'all.
Bye.
Okay. Jesus. Okay, Angel and Angel Miller. So, yeah. Any last thoughts for the two of you ladies?
I would say, don't rush marriage. Don't rush it. It's beautiful when it happens. It's beautiful when you can make it work. But like I said before, you are not obligated to be married. That is not a necessity. And understanding that in certain households and in certain cultures, definitely everybody is looking at you like, oh my God, what do you mean you don't want to get married? It might not be for you. But when you find that person, it is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. But to thine own self be true, definitely. And that being said, learn to communicate. Communication will get you so far. Open up your mouth and speak. Speak your truth. Speak your boundaries. Speak your limitations, hard limits. You absolutely cannot call me a bitch. Period. It's a hard limit, it's a hard limit. On the other side, no, you absolutely cannot call me a nigga either. It's a hard limit. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. But communication is the life of any relationship, not just marriage. Any relationship that you're in. And when you learn to effectively communicate, then there are absolutely no limits to what kind of partnerships and marriage and love styles that you can have. That's all I have.
I remember what I was about to say about communication earlier when she asked about what advice would I give or what we give to the younger generation. I just remember what it is. If you're in a debate, a heated discussion, an argument, make sure that you are not listening for rebuttal. Listen to understand. Because I feel like people get into these arguments and just be going back and forth, but you're not even listening to what the point the person is trying to get across. You listening so you can respond. So you can go ahead and rebut whatever they have to say, not even knowing what they said to begin with in the first place. So listen to understand, listen not to rebut, because that'll honestly lengthen the argument as well.
And you know what, Angel, that's huge because most people listen to, for rebuttal purposes. One of the things that I wish we would have done, that we did further towards the end of our marriage, we did marital counseling. And there were some tough questions that were asked of us. And later on, when shit hit the fan, there were some new questions that were asked. But I recently heard Bobby Brown and his wife did the Red Table Talk. And he and his wife were saying that there's her counselor and his counselor and the family counselor and the kids had a counselor, because sometimes everybody can't effectively communicate and you need that bridge. If I knew then what I know now, we'd have had a counselor all through our marriage. Would we still be married? Possibly. Possibly. A lot of people were like, there's no reason for you guys to get divorced. Possibly. We got to a point where we kind of outgrew each other and grew in different directions. But definitely in the beginning of our marriage, because we were taught that to listen, to hear, to understand, and to acknowledge what they are saying. Not to just say, well, let me hurry up and answer. No, 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 no. Hear, understand, and acknowledge what your partner is saying to you. And when I speak in that, make no mistake, I'm not just talking about man and wife. I'm talking about man and man, woman and woman. I don't care if you are in an LGBTQ marriage or if you are in a quote unquote traditional monogamous heterosexual marriage. You still have to learn to fight fair. And fighting fair is part of listening to understand and to hear and to take it in and then sit and respond and understand, okay, this is what I'm hearing from you. So yeah, I would definitely agree.
I don't even think that's just for marriages. It goes for relationships, friendships, everything. Don't listen to rebut, just listen to understand and make sure that you are clarifying. Like, in my opinion, I think that you should, if you're in an argument and that person is talking to you or speaking to you or stating their case, make sure you are understanding their case. So in my sense, I feel like, so in other words, you're telling me XYZ, ABC. I'm saying this out loud so you see that I understand that what you're saying, but I want you to see that I understand that you understand that I understand. And then I'm going to come up with my case. So that way you can't say, oh, no, you don't understand. I just repeated it to you. How didn't I understand? I just repeated the whole thing you just said, and I don't understand. So I'm going to make sure that you see that I understand, and then I'm going to go in.
So that's close. Okay. Whew. I had fun with this call. This Zoom, this live event.
Them chambers are the 2021 Huxtables.
Well, I think they've given everybody just life. I put everybody's to those in the comments. I put everybody's contact. Divine Legacy for Amanda. Stan is a photographer, so I put his information. Please like and share their pages, also my own. And if you want to get a book, since Amanda mentioned it, MichelleWarren.net. Go ahead and order, or you can order on Amazon. It's The Exploration of Her. So today was a very interesting and fun. We're gonna have a book. We're gonna have some book time, but that won't be a live. That'll be a closed Zoom because my book is not live material. Just to give notice to the ones that know.
Not at all. Not at all.
So it's just a little bit dirty, just a little bit.
It's not for the weak-hearted either. Not. You might actually have a heart attack reading that book.
It's not. You want to have a boo thing or a toy near you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that live is definitely not for Facebook. That Zoom call will not be for Facebook.
That's a Zoom call, and we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna have a real good time.
Got a nice glass of wine or some nice glass of cognac or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because should we just go
a nice bottle of water?
Okay. And if you want any information, feel free to contact me. I'll let you know everything. All right, ladies, it's been a great time. It is the hour. It's 9:00. Well, 9:05 at this point. And like I said, we have a great time. So we're gonna go ahead and tell Facebook bye. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Okay.